Dr. Bus, as I like to call him, joining us right now.
No, there's
How are
only
you?
one Dr. Bus.
There's only, well,
Exactly,
a different
exactly.
type of Dr. Bus, but my Dr. Bus. Thank you. Jerome Bettis and Stephen A. Smith is in Philly. How are you?
Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing?
We're doing great. Are you looking okay? What's
I
going
got a
on?
question. I got a question.
Got 'em.
Is it true that you took the bus to your studio this morning and
That's
barely
not
made
true.
it?
That's not true.
No, it's true that people can't drive in inclement weather, and I practically crawled here, but I'm in the house. I'm in the house, and I'm ready to go.
Hey, Stephen A., give Jerome a shout out. He's here sitting in here hanging out with us.
I see the big boy looking dapper as always, my man. Always great to see you, bro.
Always great to see you, and dapper as well with the Brioni tie. I know what it is.
Oh, oh, you guys are fancy on this show. They're fun. You're fancy.
And by the way, since you're gonna throw that out, let's not forget the Tom Ford blazer.
Oh God. Okay.
Let's not
We won't forget that. We won't forget that.
All right. Coming up on the show today, actor and comedian Anthony Anderson will join the desk. His new show Blackish premiered last night on ABC, and now he's here to talk about some of his favorite basketball teams and a little golf. Plus, is Tom Brady done or washed up? I know that sounds ridiculous for fans as well as his teammates. We will hear their words in just a few moments. But first up, Washington. They've lost 7 straight games in the division and need a win if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive. Just thinking toward the future as they try to beat a bad trend. The bad trend for New York is the fact that the last 3 road teams on Thursday night, they've simply lost. Take a look at that. So now we want to know if, in fact, Washington can win or New York can win. Skip Bayless,
Well,
it's for you.
I can't say it's going to be a fact.
If in fact.
I wouldn't encourage anybody to take this to the
I
bank.
believe you.
But this is for my friend Stephen A. Smith. I'm feeling blue today, Stephen A. I'm actually having a bad day, but I'm going to make your day a good day. I'm going to pick your New York Giants, Big Blue, to win tonight. I have told you from the start of the preseason I liked your Giants defense. I know it hasn't played that well, but it will only get better. I think it's still a little underrated. And I really liked what Big Blue did to Houston last Sunday because I loved the big goose egg that Eli put up, which was no interception. Eli didn't throw one interception, and I loved it that 34 times he gave it to this guy named Rashad Jennings, who I've been raving about since your Giants picked him up. And he carried it for 176 yards. That is the formula to win a game against what at that point had been a hot Texans team, 20-6. On the other side, I'm sorry, after all this Cousins mania this week, I'm still not buying. I'm not sold. And I'm going to say it again. In the big shootout at Philly in the fourth quarter, Kirk Cousins had a QBR that's on a scale of 0 to 100 of 12. 12 in the fourth quarter when it was money time. Kirk Cousins was not money. And Stephen A., I've brought this up before. They gave Kirk Cousins 3 starts at the end of the year last year, week 15, 16, and 17. His combined QBR in those games, again, 0 to 100, was 31.4. He lost all 3 games. And the finale against your Giants, he went 19 of 49, no touchdowns and 2 picks. That's not very good. I'm still not convinced he's the answer in D.C. So I'm going to go with your Giants tonight, 27-23, even though they have to travel on a short week to a Thursday night in D.C. or at Washington.
Yeah, in D.C. Yeah. That's a bold prediction. 27-23 Giants. Bettis, what do you got?
Well, I like everything that you said. I still don't believe, though, that the Giants offensively are where they need to be right now. They're still developing. They're still learning this new offense.
Yeah.
And they're really leaning on the running game. And
not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing to do. No,
you know that better.
I believe in leaning on the running game. But when you go to Washington has been playing well against the run. You know, they ranked 3rd in the NFL. It's a little deceiving, though.
It is.
Obviously, because of who they played. And they put a lot of emphasis into stopping LaShawn McCoy. Okay,
they did.
So I believe that will be a similar scenario when they play the Giants. Rashad Jennings has to be stopped. And with that being said, Eli, the pressure was taken off when the running game got going. And if you don't get the running game going, I think that's when you put Eli Manning back into the box that he's been in the last couple of weeks. So I don't believe that the Giants' offense is still good enough to win a game if they can't run the football. So I see the recipe is the Redskins loading up to stop the run. Their offense is good enough to score points on anybody.
Sure.
So I don't know if the Giants' offense, though, can produce the same amount of points. And I think it's just going to be a situation where both teams won't play great, but I think the Redskins score enough touchdowns to win this football game. I think 28-24 is going to be the score of this football game.
All right.
Yep, the home team.
Stephen A., weigh in.
I completely agree with Jerome Bettis. I'm going up against my Giants this evening, Skip Bayless. I simply don't trust their offense right now. Defensively, they're better than the numbers would show. They haven't played up to par. They got the 23rd or 24th ranked defense in the NFL. I'm not overly impressed with them at this particular moment in time, but I know the defense can play better. Offensively, I just think it's too challenging right now. McAdoo being in there as your new offensive coordinator, trying to incorporate and implement the new West Coast offense, there's been an adjustment period. The fact that you ran the football effectively against the Houston Texans doesn't mean that your offense is clicking. It means that you found a way to run the football, and as a result, you won the game. But in order to beat the Redskins, in my estimation, you're going to have to throw it. That means Eli Manning is going to have to be on his game, which he usually is when he's going up in the nation's capital against the Redskins. You've got a guy like Victor Cruz, who finally scored a touchdown again. Ruben Randall and these boys, we know they can play. But at the same time, I just look at the Redskins and the opportunity that they have to put up points in bunches. Alfred Morris is averaging over 4 yards a carry. Halou Jr. is averaging over 5 yards a carry. You've got Garcon. You've got Deshaun Jackson. And by the way, they're not even the leading receivers for the Redskins. It's this dude, Niles Paul, filling in for Jordan Reed, the injured Jordan Reed. So I take all of those things into consideration, although I recognize that Kirk Cousins doesn't have a great record as a starting quarterback. The reality is that it's not like his numbers have been putrid. He came in and subbed for RG3 once he went down against Jacksonville in the first quarter, accumulated over 400 yards of offense for the Redskins. Last week against the Philadelphia Eagles, accumulated over 500 yards for the offense. I just look at those things, and I say the New York Giants going up against these boys, I think the Redskins are going to put up points. I think the Giants are going to do some things as well, but I think that the Redskins ultimately pull out the victory 31-23.
Mr. Smith, how do you feel about no D'Angelo Hall? Gone for the year. You don't think that's a big loss for the Redskins defense?
That's a devastating loss. That's why I'm giving the Giants 23 points.
That's all?
Yeah.
Just 23?
They could do.
Wasn't there a sighting last week? This guy, Victor Cruz, we used to know and love. I think there was a sighting. I think he caught 5 balls for, 107 yards?
I don't have any questions about Victor Cruz's skills, even though he shined when Akeem Nicks was the number one option as opposed to him. And since he's been the number one option, he's had some difficulties. I don't totally blame that on him because I believe in the skills of Victor Cruz. The problem is I don't think the offense has clicked as of yet. I think later on in the season, the Giants' offense will be significantly better than it is right now. But because it's still so early, I'm not going to get caught up, Skip, in what I've seen from the Giants going up against the Houston Texans. I'm going to pay attention to what I've seen thus far this season. They're still not clicking on all cylinders. They just ran the ball effectively last week. And remember, it was going up against a Houston Texans offense that wasn't able to do but so much because Ryan Fitzpatrick is your quarterback. So to me, the fact that you were going up against an offense that was limited in what it could do gave the Giants offense more opportunities because the defense was able to neutralize Houston in a fashion I don't think they're going to be able to neutralize the Washington Redskins.
Even though Houston has this guy named J.J. Watt, who's
I've heard of that guy
Defensive
before.
Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
That guy?
Yeah, but they had no Arian Foster.
Okay.
He was out in that
He was.
game. So from an offensive standpoint, Stephen has a point. They can't do everything that they would like to do because Fitzpatrick is mistake prone. He threw some interceptions in that football game and didn't really give that offense the opportunity to really win that football game. So when you look at this game, the Giants, although they're a better football team than they were week 1, I still don't think when you look at Washington and you look at the Giants, I don't believe right now offensively that the Giants can compare to what the Washington Redskins have been able to do with Kirk Cousins. By the way, who I believe has really fit into this offense. You can
at least he did until the fourth quarter the other day.
Yeah, okay, he did.
Well, and he's still young. He's still figuring
exactly.
it out.
He's still working through it.
Had
a mistake late in the game.
Interception,
but
that's okay.
Here we go.
He'll be fine.
Okay, listen. So Jerome and Stephen A say Washington will win, and Skip Bayless.
And I have more faith in Stephen A's Giants than he does
at the time. You've heard the gentleman weigh in. We want to know what you think. Go on to Twitter, cast your vote, and we will reveal the results of our poll a little later on in the second hour of the show. But we shall move on. Tom Brady and his offensive line have taken some hits physically and literally. After losing the season opener in Miami, the Patriots beat the Vikings handily in week 2, but barely beat the Raiders. Now the 37-year-old's game is being questioned, and his teammates refuse to entertain any slippage when it comes to one Tom Brady. Here's a quote: "You can go to practice and see it for yourself. He's not washed up. He works hard like he always has. I haven't seen any change from when I got here until now. To me, if anything, he's more of a leader now than he has been." You may remember Brady lost his guard, Logan Mankins, and the Pats' longtime offensive line coach retired just before the season. Perhaps some of the reasons for the struggle. But here's the question: is Tom Brady on the decline? Skip Bayless.
Jerome, Stephen A., it's a tough question for me. Stephen A. knows how much I love me some Tom Brady, and I've often, for many years on this show, said he's the best quarterback in football. But Stephen A., I'm going to have to admit publicly today, this is how concerned I am about Tom Brady at this point in the season. I'm so concerned that I'm going to say publicly, I'm not sure if he's in decline. I'm going to speak with my head over my heart on this one. And I know we've talked about Aaron Rodgers this week. What's wrong with him? And I'm going to be just as cold-bloodedly objective as I was on Aaron Rodgers on Tom Brady. Stephen A., you were the first to bring up the day after Tom Brady and company lost the AFC Championship game in Denver. Tom Brady had a bad day. He had, by his standards, a terrible day. The numbers don't look that bad, but he missed 2 or 3 throws that were game changers and just flat out missed the throws. So now I see the stat that Tom Brady is the worst in the league on accuracy to this point through 3 games. 27% of his passes are termed missed throws so far. That's underthrows or overthrows. 27%. We're talking about Tom Brady here. So that makes his QBR, again, scale of 0 to 100, 24th out of the 35 eligible quarterbacks. Pretty awful by Tom Brady standards. He hasn't thrown an interception yet. I got that going for me. Only 3 touchdown passes. So now we get to excuses or valid excuses. Is it the offensive line without Logan Mankins? The day the trade went down, I said, wow, this scares me to death, but in Belichick I trust. Well, I think it's a big loss in leadership, if nothing else, in the offensive line. And I said it from the start of the year. They miss LeGarrette Blount. He was a bus for them last year. He was a drop-the-hammer closer for them. Fourth quarter, at 250 pounds, you went about that range, right? You could hand it to this guy, and he just mauled defenses. And if they couldn't tackle him, he can run, he could fly. So they lost that element with Stephen Ridley is not LeGarrette Blount in the fourth quarter. So I get all that, but I still say Tom Brady, by his standards, has been awful this year. And it started in the second half at Miami. They don't protect him. He's been beat up. He got hit 6, 7 hard times by the Raiders in Foxborough, and it shook me up watching it. But still, when it was time to make a throw, he's throwing it to Julian Edelman. Is he a number 1 receiver? Well, he is for them. And I keep asking, what happened to LaFell? What happened to Ken Burrell? What happened to Aaron Dobson? I don't know. Where's Gronkowski? He's been catching 3 balls or so a game, but he's not Gronk yet. So are those valid excuses? I'm going to say right now, I'm going to wait and see. They're at Kansas City Monday night, then they got Cincinnati, they have to go to Buffalo, they got the Jets, they got Chicago, they got Denver coming up. We're about to find out. My gut feeling is he will turn back into Tom Brady, but at this moment, I can't say that for a fact.
All right.
Well, I went back and looked at some of the throws that he missed. And really going back, looking at Tom Brady, what I saw was a quarterback under duress.
Okay.
And when he had a opportunity to stand in the pocket, okay, with no pressure, he made the throws that he needed to make. Now, there was one or two that kind of sailed on him, got over him, and those were the longer passes to the sidelines. That they have a tendency to do that at times. But when you look at Tom Brady, what he is the prototypical pocket passer. He moves in the pocket. He's not mobile. Okay, so when you have a quarterback that's able to move in the pocket, i.e., Peyton Manning as well, when that pocket becomes eroded, then they're going to struggle. There's no way around it. And so this is nothing new when you look at in the scope of things. What's new is the Patriots' offensive line eroding. That's the difference here. That's what we haven't seen in years. And the moves that they've made in terms of the Patriots front office, I think has put Tom Brady in this position where he's uncomfortable in the pocket. You could see it. There was one point in the game, Khalil Mack in Oakland Raiders game hit him in his back. I mean, just flush.
I saw it.
It changed his outlook on that football game. Yeah. He became a different quarterback. And that's not unlike any other quarterback in the NFL. When you get pressure and you're under duress, you change your mechanics. You get a little bit quicker. You saw a couple passes. He threw a little quicker. He let some go in the dirt.
Yep.
But that is a product of the offensive line not giving him the time that he needs. More than any quarterback, probably the NFL, he needs protection to be effective, to be the guy that he's always been.
All right.
So you're saying with protection, he's still Tom Brady.
With protection, he's still Tom Brady.
That's hopeful for you.
But I will say this.
Yeah.
His skill set is diminishing, as all of these quarterbacks, as they get older, their skill set is going to diminish.
37.
All right.
Exactly. Peyton Manning has been the only one to defy those odds. But guess what? He's had the protection. Yeah. And we saw when he didn't have the protection in the Super Bowl, what happens.
All right, Stephen A. So Bus says skill set may be diminishing, but he really doesn't have any protection. Is Tom Brady on the decline, in your opinion?
I think this entire conversation is incredibly insulting to Tom Brady. And even though I'm one that was quick to say Aaron Rodgers is a bad man and he's not better, that Tom Brady is not better than him, I still appreciate and recognize the greatness of a Tom Brady, and I don't think I've seen a decline. What I see is an individual that is not being protected. Logan Mankins is also gone, your left guard. He's in Tampa now. That didn't help matters. You look at him last week against Oakland. He targeted Julian Edelman. Julian Edelman had 10 catches. Lord knows how many times he was targeted. Gronkowski only had 3 passes. Kembrell Tompkins, we can't find him. Dobson, we're not really finding him. LaFell was supposed to be a welcomed addition. Not much going on there either. Whether it's Ridley or Vereen, the running game ranks 22nd. The passing game ranks 27th. Okay, when I look at the Patriots, I'm thinking along the lines of an organization, first class all the way. We all know how I feel about Mr. Kraft, but Bill Belichick and the Patriots organization, because of the greatness of Tom Brady, one could argue, in my estimation, that they have taken him for granted for far too long. Just look at this stat here, Skip. Last year, lowest passer rating since 2003. 87.3. Fewest touchdowns thrown since 2006, 25. But the Patriots still managed to finish third in the NFL in scoring at 27.8 points per game. Vincent Wilfork went down. All right, Gerard Mayo went down. All right, you didn't have, these guys available to you. What happened? Aqib Talib ultimately was in and out in terms of his injury-prone self. What happened? Tom Brady picked up the slack. When we look at the New England Patriots, outside of Randy Moss, they have never really had an elite receiver, yet somehow, some way, every single season, with the exception of one after their first Super Bowl, Tom Brady has led them to double-digit victories every single season he was healthy. Even the year he was out, they went 11-5 with Matt Castle, the quarterback, believe it or not. But Tom Brady is the man. And so when I look at it, I'm saying, what are you talking about, declining skills? Is he being protected? To me, you have to gauge what Tom Brady brings to the table when you have the requisite parts around him. Even when he didn't have elite receivers before, guys, he was still protected. And so as a result, Tom Brady could stand in the pocket and do his thing. Let's see how good Drew Brees would be, Peyton Manning would be, along with the others, if they had the minimal level of protection that Tom Brady has enjoyed. Aaron Rodgers is different because he can scramble and move out the pocket and still rifle that football on the run. But by and large, pocket passers need protection. And as far as I'm concerned, it's the combination of not being protected well enough and guys not getting open as much as they should in order for Tom Brady to do his thing. That's what I see.
Stephen A., he was targeted 13 times. Julian Edelman was in that game against the Raiders.
Kerry,
FYI.
Now we have had role reversal on this show.
I see.
Because Stephen A. Smith has picked the New England Patriots not to just get to the Super Bowl, but to win this year's Super Bowl. He has declared the Patriots America's team, not the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes.
And you no longer hear from him what we often heard as a constant refrain on this show. Tom Brady tap dances better than the late, great Gregory Hines. We don't hear that anymore. We hear only defense of Tom Brady, that he's not in
How do you feel about that?
It shakes me up. It makes me nervous.
Why?
Because I want the Patriots to win it all.
That's just for the moment.
Bus, how you feel?
He can tap dance, and listen, he does tend to tap dance. I stand by that.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm not going to accuse him of having declining skills.
Of course, but you don't think he has declining skills. It's about protection. The same thing.
It's about protection. He's still as good as he's ever been, and if they protect him, he will still get the job done like he's always has.
So cheer up.
That's right.
He'll
still eat you up. He'll eat you up.
All right, well, it is official. The Yankees will not see the postseason. But the bigger storyline is the end of the Derek Jeter era. The captain's career doesn't have a fairy tale ending like many would like to see, but we talk about his legacy today. Stephen A. Smith, how will you remember Derek Jeter?
I remember him as a champion, one of the greatest champions, one of the greatest leaders, one of the greatest ambassadors, if not the greatest ambassador of a particular professional sport that I have ever seen in my lifetime. And it has been an honor and a privilege, me as a diehard Yankee fan, to see this man do what he's done throughout his career. Skip Bayless, the season hasn't been the greatest. We understand that. Man's 40 years old. I expected nothing else. Batting .253, recent 0 for 28 slump. No doubt about it. We understand all of that. But this man is not the reason that the Yankees are not in the postseason. He is not the reason that the Yankees have flopped this year. Outside of him, you could barely find out who's on the roster, for crying out loud, with a bunch of no-names they had in their lineup. You look at 80% of their rotation: Ivan Nova, Michael Pineda, CC Sabathia, Masahiro Tanaka. All of them went down this season. 80% of their rotation was decimated. But Derek Jeter went out there and played more than 140 games this year at age 40, his last season in Major League Baseball. We look at these numbers: 6th most all times in hits. One of the 6 greatest Yankees of all time. One of the 3 greatest shortstops of all time. If you just look at some of the things going around, here's some of the other stats that I've got, Skip, in terms of Jeter as a shortstop. All time, Jeter is 1st in hits from the shortstop position, 3rd in doubles, 3rd in home runs, 5th in RBIs, 1st in runs scored. This dude is a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I see so many people being so critical, talking about, well, is he really all that? He's never won a league MVP award, even though there was at least one particular year where the Tim Kirchens of the world and others thought he should have won. Well, Tim Kirchen, I spoke to yesterday. Always an honor and privilege to talk to the encyclopedia there is of Major League Baseball. This guy was pointing out how Willie Mays only had 2 MVP awards, and he's the great Willie Mays. So we take all of these things into consideration. You don't necessarily have to be known as the greatest. You don't necessarily have to have numbers that says you are unquestionably the greatest. But in a league where thousands upon thousands upon thousands of players have existed over the decades, when you talk about Derek Jeter, you're talking about top 5, top 10 in most categories when it comes to shortstop, if not all of them. And when I consider that, and him being a 5-time world champion, and him being a dude working in the bubble that is New York, the Mecca, for the Yankees, the most storied franchise in sports annals, doing what he did, the way that he did it, never getting in any trouble, always conducting himself first class. His decisions off the field have been nothing short of impeccable. Just check the resume. I look at all of those different things. And the fact that this dude was still about winning, that it was a priority, that he was about championships, that he was about doing things the right way, it was an absolute honor to watch Derek Jeter. I have not a negative word to say about this man. I love him. I'm going to miss him. It was great just seeing him a few weeks ago and talking to him at the Barclays Center. Just an honor, man. And I can do nothing but say thank you for all the great years you gave me as a diehard Yankee fan. It was truly an honor and a privilege to watch this man play baseball.
I second all your emotions today on Derek Jeter. One quick stat before I get into what I will remember most from Ian O'Connor on ESPN.com today is that Derek Jeter has now played in 2,903 games, 2,903. Not once was he ever thrown out of a game. Guys get thrown out, as we know, managers, players, seems like on a nightly basis. It's just what happens in the sport. You argue with the umpire, you occasionally get tossed, not one time. And you always say class personified. On and off the field, to me, Derek was class personified. Now, what will I remember most? I must tell you, as an athlete, to me, Stephen A., he's been a little hard to figure out. So what I will remember most is, here is an obvious first ballot Hall of Famer who was never what I would call extraordinarily talented in any single phase of the game. Not extraordinarily talented. We're not talking about LeBron James here. We're talking about, is he the strongest? No, he's not the strongest guy. Career high was 24 home runs, 102 RBIs. Not bad, not great. Was he ever the fastest guy? No, he had a career-high 34 stolen bases. Not bad, not great. Did he have the most range of any shortstop ever? Obviously, he did not. Did he have the greatest hands of any shortstop ever? No. Were we talking about the Wizard of Oz, Ozzie Smith here, Omar Vizquel, Louis Aparicio? No, we're not talking about that. Very good, maybe not great, even though he did win 5 Gold Gloves, which is shocking to me. But in the end, to me, Derek Jeter took everything that God did give him and he applied mind over body every pitch, every inning, every night he ever played. Every pitch, he gave you every ounce he had to give you. No matter whether it was in April or October, he gave you every ounce he had, mentally as well as physically. And when the moments were the biggest, Yankee Stadium, New York Yankee moments, as you well know, nobody's ever been better than this man because he did somehow will himself into a place of super heroism. Like he became a superhero when the pressure was greatest. Well, again, the attributes, the talent wasn't the greatest, but he became the greatest in the greatest moments. And it's all about will. It's all about all those intangibles we talk about. And if there's any message here for the many talented kids we talk about on this show every day is, can you bring it every day? I know some days you get up, you just don't feel like it. You know you're really, really gifted and you can get away with it today. You don't have to give it all today. Derek Jeter gave it all for 2,903 games to date. Listen, Stephen A., you'll attest to this. Did he ever take an inning off, a pitch off? Did he ever give up an at-bat? I'm already 3 for 3. I'm just going to get... No, not a pitch, not an inning, not a month. He gave you every ounce, and he, in a way, he overachieved into first ballot Hall of Fameness, which is unbelievable because the talent it's very good, but not great in the end.
Well, the thing about it is that what Derek Jeter really, illuminates is the fact that, he validates why we love some of these guys the way that we do. He wasn't Michael Jordan talent-wise.
No.
But he was very Michael Jordan-esque in this particular respect, Skip. He never cheated you. And when we think about guys and we think about the marquee athletes and we talk about watching sports, particularly in this day and age with the economic troubles that we have as a nation, with the money that it costs to go to a game, with the investment emotionally, monetarily that you make in sports, etc., it's just great to rely on somebody from the perspective of knowing that they will never cheat you. They're going to have better days. They're going to have worse days. But what they're never going to do, the one element of consistency that they're going to provide you night in and night out is that when you come to see them play, you will never look at them and say, I think they could have given me more. And that is what Derek Jeter is all about. And that's why he's so beloved, and that's why he's been so celebrated, because when you talk about an athlete doing stuff the right way, even though he did everything right off the field, the fact is what we're truly appreciating is that he seemed to be about everything that you want your professional athlete that you support to be about. That doesn't mean he was literally perfect. We don't know every little thing about his life, but we don't care either. As long as you're obeying the law and what have you, we don't particularly care. The bottom line is we want to make sure that you're going out there and you're never cheating us. And Derek Jeter was that guy. It's just that simple. And that's why the commercials, whether it be with the Jordan brand and tipping the cap, or it's with the Gatorade commercial, the commercials are just incredibly apropos, because that's basically what they're saying. Respect for what this man gave you on a night in, night out basis.
He will
never
be,
cheated you.
He will be greatly missed.
A new comedy for our times.
Obama's the first black president?
You knew that Obama was the first black president, right?
I guess. Okay.
Okay.
Doing a bang-up job over here.
You're doing a bang-up job over
Thank you.
here. I watched it last night. I don't know if you had an opportunity to watch it. It is ABC's new comedy. It's a family comedy called Blackish. The star of the show, Anthony Anderson, comedian as well, joining us. Thank you so much for being here. Your second time back. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's just get right to it. Skip, do you want to say anything to him before I let him have it?
I'm good. I'm listening.
Yeah, you
You're
are.
listening?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're in trouble with me right now.
Why?
Well, first of all, you didn't invite anybody at this desk to the premiere of Blackish. We thought that was rude.
Okay, well, there wasn't a premiere.
Okay, well, then you're forgiven. Okay, so you're forgiven for that.
Okay.
Now, tell us about the show. Clearly funny, but what is the theme of the show, the idea?
The idea of the show is really just a family, first-generation success, trying to give their children more than what they had growing up, you know, and just living the American dream. And that's what it is. It just happens to be an African-American family. And, you know, we're dealing with our ish, as all families do. You're pursuing that American dream. And that's what it is. You know, race, religion, family, relationship, parenting. We tackle it all.
All right. Stephen A., you got a question for Anthony?
Yeah, well, obviously, first of all, congratulations, my brother. You know I'm proud of you as always. But let me ask you this question. I mean, it's obviously revolutionary from the perspective that it talks about race, it jokes about race, and it appears to be, to some degree anyway, the complete antithesis of what the Cosby Show was all about, which for most of us was an all-time favorite. Are you concerned at all about those comparisons, and are you concerned at all that your willingness to tackle race head on the way the show appears willing to do could be something that's detrimental to the success of the show?
Yeah, we're not concerned about those comparisons at all. We welcome that to be compared to something as great as what Dr. Cosby did with the Cosby Show. Different time, different era as well. The things that we are talking about is nothing new. But it's a reflection of the society in which we live in today. And it's something that's going on, you know, with immigrants coming to America, you know, people who are in America, first generation success, you know, living and striving for that American dream. And I think that is what's going to attract people and keep them watching our show every week, because we're dealing with everyday thing head on and honestly, and authentically. You know, we're telling authentic stories as honestly as we possibly can. And the stories that you saw in the pilot last night are stories from my life. You know, by no stretch of the imagination are we trying to define what Blackish is. But these are stories from my producing partner and creator of the show, Kenya Barris, his life and my life, and how we're raising our children. So it's autobiographical, actually. So that's what we're doing. But we welcome the criticism. We welcome the comparisons to the Cosby Show. It's their 30th anniversary. Hopefully 30 years from now, they're talking about our show and what we meant to the landscape of television and how we changed it.
Let's address the ish, the black ish. When I watched last night, it was trending, very popular. It seemed well received, just on first glance. When you say ish, what do you mean by that? Going back, vacillating between both worlds, but still trying to remain black? I don't understand the ish of it all.
It's a combination of all that. You may not understand my ish just as well as I don't understand your ish or Skip's ish or Steven's ish. It's all different. And the ish is how you define it and what you define it is. But the ish in particular that we're dealing with our show is race. It's religion. It's culture, cultural identity. Trying to assimilate and live that American dream, and if you're not careful in that assimilation, you'll forget and lose a part of who you are. And that's what Dre's character is all about. He's looking at his son. He's like, yo, son, I want you to play ball like I did. What the hell is field hockey?
Go ahead,
yes, Stevie. Yes.
Stevie.
you raised your hand. You got a question?
I totally get it. Well, yes, I do. I totally get it, and I get where you're coming from. But it's one thing for the show to tackle those issues head on. It's another thing for everything from the title to the subject matter itself, for you being very flagrant in the fact that this is what the show is about in terms of our willingness to tackle it. Do you think America, or how confident are you that America will gravitate to that and be willing to embrace that head on? And I only ask that question because Skip and I, we do this show every day, and, we're willing to tackle the issues when they present itself. But you have a lot of people that appear a bit hesitant and reluctant to do so because they don't want it to be seen as that being what the show is about. And as a result, because you expect some fallout from that or some pushback from that. How do you respond to that kind of concern?
Well, it's the nature and the climate in which we live today. We're just telling stories that we live, and you guys do a great job on what you do here. You're going to have your detractors, but you're also going to have the people who champion what you do and support what you do. And that's just what it is and how it is in society. You're going to have your haters and you're going to have the people who love it. We're not really concerned about either. All we're concerned about is putting the best product out that we can. But what's most important, it gets us talking. It creates dialogue. We may not be the show that creates the change, but we may be the show that sparks the conversation that does create that change. And that's what we're doing. And I hope we continue to do that. And by being as truthful and honest as we can, we hope that the audience responds to that.
Speaking of sparking some conversation, Bayless, you want to talk some sports with this man, or you want to stay here?
You know what? This is so good. Right. I hate to turn left and ask a sports question, but I'll try. And I'm going to ask a sports question about a sport that has not been exactly synonymous with the black community, and that's the sport of golf.
Okay.
You are addicted to the sport of golf, which has always surprised me, given that you grew up in Compton. And you play often at Mountain Gate in L.A. with Don Cheadle, Samuel Jackson, right? 2-3 times a week if you can.
Yeah, that's our foursome.
You host a show on the Golf Channel called Golf in America. Ongoing, great show. And a quick question, because I know you have such a feel for this game and what it means to so many people around the world. The Ryder Cup is beginning. And Rickie Fowler, who's been a lightning rod in the sport, has been pretty heavily criticized for shaving USA into the backside of his hair as he represents the United States against Europe in the Ryder Cup. Is the criticism in your mind justified?
Everybody's going to have their opinion about something. No, it's not justified. First off, I'd just like to say that Rickie Fowler shaving something into his head like that makes him blackish. Let me just put that out there right now.
There you go. That's right. So now we get the
let's just put that out there right now. But I mean, it just goes to show you how much team spirit that he has, and to be as bold to do something like that shows that he's really passionate about what it is that he's about to embark on this Ryder Cup team.
So it's not to you irreverent or disrespectful to an event that's 87 years old that the players treat with high regard and dignity?
It's just a haircut, in my opinion. I believe that he is going to respect the game. He always has respected the game. I don't see it as a distraction or anything like that. It just goes to show you how much he believes in his team and his sport and himself and what he wants to do.
And
so I applaud him.
Why do you love golf so much?
Because it's the one true game that I can play with anyone where it's an even playing field. And I'm not really playing against you. I'm playing against myself to be a better golfer every swing of my club.
Well, Rex Ryan said in a conference call this week that the Jets will be well prepared for the Lions, and in particular, their defensive front. He says, quote, everybody talks about the front, and for a good reason. For them, obviously, it starts with Ndamukong Suh, and then you've got Fairley. Suh's probably the version now of Warren Sapp, probably as close to Warren Sapp as I've ever seen. Just a phenomenal player. Joining us again, Jerome Bettis, thank you so much for being here. Interesting comparison because from my understanding, Sapp has been pretty critical of Ndamukong Suh. And as far as the Lions at Jets, let's talk about that game on Sunday. Do you agree with Rex Ryan's comparison?
Well, initially, I said to myself, I don't know if that's the case. But when you look at the numbers, fairly bear out for the 4-year stretch. I think it's 27 and a half and 28. Something. I mean,
on sacks.
Yeah, on sacks.
Yeah.
And so it's really close there. I think there is a little bit of a difference in terms of Warren Sapp disrupted more when he was out on the football field. And maybe it was because of the position and the way he got up the football field. And, he was a different type of 3 technique than Ndamukong Suh is. But I think all in all, they are similar. Now, Warren Sapp was an incredible football player. Make no mistake. You can like him, hate him, whatever you want to do. But on the football field, he was one of the best tackles to ever play the game. So, I wouldn't say Sapp yet. I don't think his body of work, Suh's body of work, is enough for you to say Sapp. But you can draw the comparison. I think it's close enough to say he's in the ballpark of a Warren Sapp. Yeah. But he's got to play a long time, and he's got to be great for a long time in order to match what Sapp has been able to do. So with that being said, I hear you, but
you don't
not
agree.
Quite yet.
Yeah, okay.
Not quite yet.
Okay. Stephen A.
I'm going to try to be respectful here. I think it's an insult to Warren Sapp. Ndamukong Suh does not compare to Warren Sapp. Eventually, I think he can. But I think when we look at the criticism on far too many occasions, what we do is we get caught up in the negativity that is being spewed, and we don't necessarily measure its validity as much as we should. Warren Sapp was not only a defensive lineman, he was incredibly versatile. I understand that Ndamukong Suh has a lot to do with Detroit being the team giving up the fewest yards and the second fewest points in the NFL right now. I get that. And I know that Ndamukong Suh is a big-time talent. But the versatility that Warren Sapp had to his game, the ability to rush a passer, the ability to play against the run, a lot of the things that he did. I know that Warren Sapp got beat sometime. I know sometimes he appeared overly aggressive. I get all of that. I understand it. And he was far from perfect. And people who played with him will tell you that. But when you look at Ndamukong Suh, what I see is a man that's 6'4", 307 pounds, is powerful and as vicious as they come. But what I don't see is the versatility when it comes to getting at the pass rusher. 10 sacks, 66 tackles as a rookie. Since that, over the last 3 years, 18 and a half sacks. That's what he's had. And it's been relatively, there have been times when Skip and myself have found ourselves asking ourselves, where is Ndamukong Suh? What has he done? What is it about him that makes him so great? I'm not saying that we're totally right in saying that. I'm saying the mere fact that the question had to be asked tells you that there was something from his game in terms of his talent that wasn't shining on Sunday afternoons. We didn't see that with Warren Sapp. And I think sometimes we get caught up. Warren Sapp's first year in Oakland only had 2.5 sacks. His last year in Oakland only had 2.5 sacks. In between that time, had a 10-sack season. For Tampa Bay, one time he had 16.5 sacks. Another time it was 12.5 sacks. Warren Sapp literally was a difference maker on that line of scrimmage. And you never knew what he was going to do, but you knew he was going to have an impact. We still find ourselves asking that question from week to week. So Ndamukong is to be respected, no doubt. He's a big-time talent. I think the upside is incredible, and I think he'll get there. And I think down the road he'll be comparable to Warren Sapp. But remember, Warren Sapp is a Hall of Famer for a reason. He has done this already. He has shown how it should be done already. That's why he's in the Hall of Fame, because he was big time. And when he says that Ndamukong Suh doesn't have versatility to his game, I don't think it's something that we should look at Warren Sapp and say, well, he's just hating. Michael Irvin, to me, has a right to criticize wide receivers. Warren Sapp has a right to criticize defensive linemen. He knows a hell of a lot more about them than any of us do, and he's a Hall of Famer. I'm going to roll with him.
I hear what both of you have just said. I'm going to start off my view of this with saying that I said before Suh's draft, after I watched him at Nebraska as much as I did, that I was taking him #1 overall over Sam Bradford, and I stand by that. Obviously, Sam Bradford's been hurt too much, but I'd still take Suh. So given that perspective and backdrop, I don't think he will ever be Warren Sapp. From what I've seen so far, and I think I've seen enough of pro football in Ndamukong Suh, I don't think he'll ever be Sapp. And it is a little insulting to Sapp to compare him. Even though Suh is bigger than Warren was, he's stronger than Warren was, he's more powerful than Warren was, he's just not better. Because you weren't here for the previous conversation we had about Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter brought it every pitch of every inning of every game, and so did Sapp. And I know Sapp didn't compare in class and dignity to Derek Jeter, but he played football, man, and he played the heck out of football. He was nasty. He had slither to his game. You know, he had that natural sort of unblockability, that escapability between the tackles where you just couldn't get him on the ground. You couldn't keep him blocked. He was going to get off 1 or 2 blockers, and he was going to get a hand in the play, if not a body on the play. And you said it best. He disrupted. And from Suh, as yet, I haven't seen that kind of consistent disruption. How many times do we watch games and say, Ndamukong just took that game over. He owned that game. There have been a couple. But I don't see it every Sunday or every whatever night they play on. I don't ever sit back and say, you know what? This is the man in pro football now. Maybe he will get to be that guy in today's pro football, but listen, I'm tough with my Hall of Fame standards, and Warren Sapp belonged in the Hall of Fame. He's a first ballot to me, and was. And so it's not that it's insulting. I get where Rex is going because he is today's Warren Sapp, but he's not Warren Sapp.
Yeah, I understand, the analogy he was trying to make, but again, Suh disappears at times when he's on the football field, and you just don't hear. When Warren Sapp came to play, you knew you had to block him, and so you said we got to get a running back on him. You got help. We got to do whatever we need to do. Slide protection. You did whatever you had to do to make sure he was blocked because you knew every single snap he was coming for the quarterback, and if on the way to the quarterback he got the running back, so be it. And that's just not the case with Suh.
Well, Jerome, Skip, here's the bottom line. This is the best way to put it. Let me see if y'all get this. Ndamukong Suh is vicious. He's big time. He's lethal. But he seems fixated and preoccupied on winning his matchup. Warren Sapp was preoccupied with being a difference maker. Warren Sapp rolled up on a football field and appeared to have the persona, I want to be the difference in this game. I'm going to be a Rough Rider. I don't care if it's about rallying the troops. I don't care if it's about doing, like, you could see Ndamukong Suh, and I'm not saying this is the case with Detroit guys, but if Ndamukong Suh was surrounded by a bunch of cream puffs, it seems to me like he would be the kind of dude that's preoccupied with just doing his job and dominating where he is supposed to dominate. Warren Sapp is the kind of dude that might go and slap somebody upside the head, tell a coach to get rid of them, tell the GM to trade somebody. I'm playing with a bunch of cream puffs over here. Get rid of them. You see what I'm saying? You've got guys that are fixated in not just what they do, but being surrounded by guys who mirror and match their level of intensity and tenacity. And if you're not going to be that kind of dude on that football field, they don't like you, they don't want to get along with you, they don't want to be around you. That's what I get from Warren Sapp. Whereas I just get the impression with Ndamukong Suh, I'm trying to be great, I'm trying to win, I want to make sure I dominate, but all I can control is what I can control. And to me, when you play that position, I want the Warren Sapp mentality. I want that Rough Rider, that raw dog that's coming at you, and you know it every week. It's what I want. It's just what I want.
The chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup is upon us. The Challenger Round.
There's a new format, 16 drivers, 3 races, 12 will advance.
They're going to have to find their groove on every track.
This is like no other playoff in racing.
Brad and Joey are leading the chase charge. This is it. 4 drivers will be eliminated after Dover.
The final race in the Challenger Round. 16 nations battle, 12 advance in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. For 4, it's over at Dover. Sunday at 1 Eastern on ESPN. Presented by Pennzoil.
During a press conference earlier this week, Washington head coach Jay Gruden talked about tonight's home game against the Giants and how much of a luxury it was to have a backup quarterback like Kirk Cousins who can come in and play the way Kirk has. When asked about the possibility of Cousins replacing RG3 permanently in Washington, Jay Gruden said, quote, "Crazy things have happened in the NFL. I'm not going to discount anything." Coach Gruden kind of just leaving that door open just in case for Cousins to keep the quarterback job. So, Stephen A. Smith, how do you feel about it? Are you okay with that?
I'm totally okay with it. Why should he say otherwise? They have the number 3 passing attack in the NFL and the 5th-ranked offense in the NFL. They're putting up points in bunches. They're putting up numbers, rather. Kirk Cousins comes in a substitute manner in the first quarter before a point is scored, and he helps accumulate in excess of 400 yards. Last week against the Philadelphia Eagles, or this past Sunday, 511 yards. This man has been the quarterback of the Washington Redskins. They are 1-1, having accumulated in excess of 900 yards of offense in the past 2 weeks. Kirk Cousins keeps doing this. Why would I think about going back to RG3? Now, obviously, if you're Jay Gruden, you're going to sit there and leave your options open just to cover yourself to make sure everybody in the nation's capital knows what you're thinking about. That way, if Kirk Cousins manages to find a way to win football games instead of just accumulating yardage, and you're forced to play RG3 because Daniel Snyder, the owner, wants you to because he's so close to RG3, then you've covered yourself by simply putting out the fact that, hey, anything's possible, so everybody will easily surmise that it's Daniel Snyder as opposed to it being you. But in the event that you decide to go away from RG3 and go this route, you've left that open as a possibility as well. So I have no problem with what Jay Gruden is saying. As far as I'm concerned, no one, unless you're accomplished as a Super Bowl champion and incredibly elite at your level, nobody should just be handed a job and have that level of security. You've got to compete year in and year out for it, and that should apply to RG3 as well.
Do I hear you becoming a Kirk Cousins fan?
No.
Well, I think you're heading
what
there.
I've seen.
I don't know about that. You're starting to warm up to him.
I'm not. I just need to see. I need to see more. It's not about Kirk Cousins, Skip. I need to see RG3 come back, play in that pocket and win football games from the quarterback position. That's what I need to see.
Okay. Back to Kerry's original question. Am I okay with what Jay Gruden is saying? Obviously, I'm not okay. My my heart is in this one because I still believe Robert Griffin III will be a star quarterback in the National Football League. I obviously don't have much evidence to provide in the last, what has it been, year and a half for that. I just have his rookie year, which was great. Rookie of the year. Now, back to Kirk Cousins. This was predictable for Jay Gruden to say because even Kirk acknowledged last week the comparison with Andy Dalton. I think he is an Andy Dalton type of quarterback that Jay Gruden will like to the point of loving because Kirk Cousins is your classic extension of coach on field. He's going to think the way Jay thinks. They're going to be in rhythm, in tune mentally. And I get that. I think that Jay can do very good things with Kirk Cousins. I don't think he can do great things. I think even Jay ultimately will be disappointed. And I may be premature with this, but I'm going to say it. I'm seeing some Matt Schaub in Kirk Cousins. Now, Matt Schaub's a bigger player than Kirk is. Kirk's 6'3", 200. Matt Schaub's 6'6", 235, like the classic prototype drop-back passer. Matt Schaub's had a lot of great days in this league. Matt Schaub, like Kirk Cousins, has thrown a lot of pretty balls in this league. Kirk threw some balls last Sunday at Philly that just took your breath away. Wow, that was sensational. But I'm going to say it again. The difference in that game in Philly, big division battle, was in the fourth quarter, Nick Foles stood tall and played big. Kirk Cousins shrank in the fourth quarter. Again, QBR in the fourth quarter, scale of 0 to 100, was 12. Threw the big interception. Had some 3-and-outs. Did have one touchdown drive, but it didn't really matter because they were already down by 10 at that point thanks to Kirk Cousins' interception. I look at what he did at the end of the year in 3 starts, one of them a huge start at home against Tony Romo and company. And Stephen A., how did he play in that game? Not very well. How did he play against the Giants in the season ender? And the Giants were already home for the holidays psychologically. He stunk it up, Kirk Cousins did. 19 of 49. No touchdowns, 2 interceptions. In those games last year, he threw 4 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. I'm not sold. I'm sorry, and again, maybe I'm speaking with my heart here because I'm defending RG3, but Washington, are you sure? Are you really sure? He throws a lot of sweet balls. I know Joe Theismann, my old friend from a show I used to do.
He's high on him.
Oh, is he high? And yeah. I get it because he'll make some throws that you say are, wow, that was big time. But so did Matt Schaub. And ultimately, Matt Schaub showed you that when it was time, when it was money time, Matt Schaub went south on you. And too many times. He had some big wins and he had some big losses. So I'm just saying I'm starting to see that trend with the Kirk Cousins. And I'm not sure that people should overload that bandwagon just yet.
Well, see, the thing about it is that your argument just goes right out the window because you acknowledge that you're speaking with your heart and not your head.
I think I just provided a bunch of stats, too.
So I don't understand that.
Kirk Cousins went 0-3 in his last 3 starts.
It doesn't matter.
Wow, that's
the stats go out the window. Zip it. I'm talking to you. The bottom line is that your argument goes right out the window because you brought up Matt Schaub. Matt Schaub. Matt Schaub, Mr. Pick Six himself.
Yeah, he had a lot of great days
the guy
in this
that
league.
couldn't even win the starting job from a rookie in Oakland.
You're forgetting all the years he did have the starting job.
Stop it.
Oh, okay. Well, wait a second.
Excuse me. All the years he did have the starting job.
What
was he?
Are you telling me that Kirk Cousins is going to be better than Matt Schaub has been in the National Football League? Are you telling me that? Because I'll start pulling some numbers on Matt Schaub.
Hold on. Not only am I telling well, give me a chance to answer the question, and I'll answer it for you directly. If Kirk Cousins isn't, it's because he's not in the lineup to do it because they elected to start RG3. But as long as Kirk Cousins plays the game of football, he'll be better than Matt Schaub because it doesn't take much. The fact is that Matt Schaub could accumulate all the yardage he wants, but in the end, he would always come up short. And I know you're saying that about Kirk Cousins too.
I'm proving it. I'm showing it to you.
5 starts does not make a quarterback. It doesn't make a quarterback. Five starts does not make a quarterback. We'll see, but it doesn't take much to be better than Matt Schaub, as Derek Carr already showed.
You know what? You're wrong about that.
Are you kidding me?
Matt Schaub was really good for a long time in Houston. A long time.
Please.
Oh, please.
Please. Flying under the radar. The second the bright lights came on and you noticed them, it was an interception.
You're thinking of his last year in Houston. You're not remembering all the good years in Houston.
I hope our producers are paying attention.
Shaw.
This sounds like a great debate.
He had 4,000 plus yard season.
Versus RG3. Everyone has their own that they're defending. We asked you at home who was going to win the game tonight. You may remember that
Kirk Cousins.
Stephen, you stop it. He's not a Kirk Cousins fan. Are you being objective, Stephen A?
No.
Yes. Yes, I am.
Look at his face.
What Matt Schaub did to Arian Foster and Andre Johnson is criminal.
We're on the Twitter poll.
We're on the Twitter poll.
Redskins win 51%.
That's pretty close.
Giants win 48%.
Wait, 48.2% of our viewing audience says Giants?
It's split.
I love it.
You like the idea?
I love it. I love the Giants. Giants win.
You watched the show yesterday? We discussed the fact that Floyd Mayweather recently admitted to the Nevada State Athletic Commission that his Showtime all-access reality series used to promote the Maidana fight was heavily scripted. He said via the AP, it's all about entertainment. I don't want to just sell a fight. I want to sell a lifestyle. Well, that prompted Manny Pacquiao to tweet the following to Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather's testimony to the Commission on All-Access Authenticity tells me everything I need to know about his desire to fight me. What is Manny saying? It sounds like Manny Pacquiao might be doing a little trash talking on the Twitter.
Oh, it definitely sounds like
Stephen
that.
A. Up for you, my friend.
Well, it's probably facilitated by Aram and his crew because they see the opportunity to make big money. And they see a level of vulnerability in Floyd Mayweather. They saw him get cracked by Madonna and at the end of the third round. They're seeing some slippage in their eyes, and they want an opportunity to try and pounce on it, because they recognize that although he is the best pound-for-pound fighter on the planet Earth right now, Manny Pacquiao recognizes that, in order for me to make this money, I'm going to have to get Floyd. Because the money that I had the potential to make after getting knocked into a coma for a few minutes by Juan Manuel Marquez, the best way for me to go about making that money is to get Floyd into the ring. And if Ricky Hatton can talk smack to Floyd Mayweather to the point where Floyd looked at Leonard Ellaby at ringside a few years back and said, make the damn fight, maybe Manny Pacquiao can coax Floyd into doing the same thing, even if it is the same result that Ricky Hatton suffered at the hands of Floyd Mayweather at that time.
Now for the truth about this tweet.
Is that what this is?
Yes, the truth.
Okay.
The truth is that this makes me laugh.
He didn't tweet that himself. That's the truth.
Manny Pacquiao is saying what I have been saying, that Floyd has gone from great fighter to pure entertainer. This is all Hollywood. He even admits to the Nevada Commission, we staged that in all access. Not sure about that, but I think you're seeing the real Floyd. And even you, Stephen A. Smith, are starting to wonder about Floyd. Is he really that focused on being a great fighter anymore? And for all these reasons, as he slides more and more into entertainer, Manny's saying, you're running farther and faster than ever from me. The tweet was, all I need to know about his desire to fight me. Floyd wants no part of this fight. I know a lot of people are speculating it's going to happen this year, maybe this coming spring. I will believe it when I see it because I don't think I will see it because I think Floyd is afraid of Manny Pacquiao. I've been saying that for how long? For 3 years on the show? Yeah. So you've been on for 7 years. Oh, okay. So, Stephen A., it's just becoming clearer and clearer to me and certainly to Manny and company, if you want to throw Aram in there, that Floyd, as he does often in the ring, is running and running faster and faster, farther and farther from this fight because he knows he would not only lose this fight and lose his unblemished record, but he would lose some of his unblemished face because he would get tagged in this fight. He would get cut in this fight. He might even, God forbid, get hurt in this fight.
Let me tell you something, Skip Bayless. Nobody, a whole bunch of people have not been telling you about Floyd Mayweather possibly fighting Manny Pacquiao this spring. It's been one man, and that is me. I am predicting. I'm the one that told you I'm predicting that Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao will fight by April or May of next year. That is what I have said. I am on the record. I believe it's going to happen, and it is that simple. And Floyd Mayweather, after the fight against Madonna, basically said he could come get it. We can make the fight. Let's do it. And I believe him. And I think that when you look at Oscar De La Hoya and Bob Arum sort of rekindling, a relationship that they once had and it was severed and now it seems to be coming back together, people are in the business of doing good business. And I think that Floyd, the excuse about business and all of this other stuff is going by the wayside now because everybody is sort of getting caught up in, all right, let's go make this money. Let's make these fights. And Floyd is being called out by a lot of folks because, again, it didn't help him. Floyd and I got into an argument about this. Like, why are you fighting Madonna? For what? Nobody cares. You have nothing to gain. Even if you win, so what? You win the rematch. Who cares? Okay? And the bottom line is that whether it's Canelo Alvarez, who's now went from Showtime back to HBO, by the way, which is a big deal. You've got Miguel Cotto, who looks much, much better since Freddie Roach has been training him. And you've got Manny Pacquiao. Those are the three fights when people think about Floyd. Those are the three fights that people care about. Not necessarily in that order. That is the bottom line. And Floyd's got to be, listen, I've been on the record. Been about the money. I ain't knocking him for that. Boxers need all the money they can get. They have no help. I applaud that. But he's Money Mayweather for a reason. He's made plenty of money, okay? Now it's about that fight. I think that Pacquiao and Floyd will go down before the NBA Finals in June. Obviously, I think Floyd is going to win. I'm even willing to say Floyd might knock him out. Yes, I am. I'm trying to tell you right now.
Why are you giggling?
The fight has to take place first, and I think that it will.
Are you sure, Mr. Smith, you're not being misled by those close to Floyd that this fight is going to happen?
No, because Floyd has told me himself that it's a fight that he's willing to take, and it's a fight that he wants. And I'm just taking Floyd at his word. He says that he wants to do it. As much as he can't stand Arum and as much as he can't stand the promoters thinking that they could take all the money, etc., I think that Floyd is growing tired of all of this chitter-chatter about Manny Pacquiao.
I hope so.
And now that Manny Pacquiao is willing to give it, even though Floyd sees it as a ploy for Manny to get paid because Manny obviously has his money issues, in the end, I think Floyd's getting tired of it, and I think Floyd's going to sit there and say, make the damn fight to Al Heyman and Leonard Ellaby again, and this is what's going to go down. It's just what I suspect.
I'm not buying it, but I would love to see it.
That's all you got to see.
Yep.
All right, Manny.
And by the way, could I add one thing before we go to break?
Yes.
Matt Schaub made two
Oh, God,
Pro Bowls.
come on.
He made two
Get
Pro
out of
Bowls.
here.
In 2009 and 2012, he made the
So
Pro Bowl.
what?
And in
You
2012,
Nobody
in
denied that.
2012, he won.
Crazy.
Forget him and his 4,700 yards and 29 touchdowns. Who cares? He's
he
Matt
won a playoff
Schaub.
game.
Okay.
He's Matt
Won a
Schaub.
playoff game.
Switching to some basketball. In a recent interview with the New York Post, Phil Jackson discussed how Carmelo Anthony would be different this season and why he thinks the triangle offense will make Melo a better player. Here's the quote. It'll give him an opportunity to be a passer, a rebounder, and probably easier spots to score from than he's had before. I hope that's true for a lot of the players. And that is his take on how he'll use Carmelo Anthony. Stephen A., from my understanding, you have some insight on this. How does Carmelo feel about this?
Carmelo and I have spoken about this on several occasions. He's not only excited, but ecstatic to be playing in the triangle offense because he's smart enough to know that it will facilitate his offensive game being even more lethal than it is, if you can believe it. I think the people that question this, I really question how much folks know about basketball. I'm going to say this statement right here on First Take, Skip. Our show, right here on national television so we can put this in perspective. And I'm glad you're sitting down, Skip, and you don't stand up because you might faint when I say this. But when I break it down and educate you on the sport of basketball, which I have to do from time to time, let's just be real about it. The bottom line is you'll get where I'm saying. Carmelo Anthony has the potential. I'm not talking about winning games. I'm not talking about championships. I'm not talking about those things. As an offensive player, Carmelo Anthony has the chance to be every bit in this as lethal in this triangle offense as one Kobe Bryant.
Oh,
that's right, I said it. This dude right here.
Wow.
Let me tell you something right now. This dude, Carmelo Anthony, is 6'8", 240. He can post up. He can shoot the three. He can take you off the dribble. He's got a mid-range game. What has he shot from the free throw over the last 3 years? Over the last 5 years, Skip, he's averaged better than, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That was the last 8 years he shot better than 80% from the free throw line. Carmelo Anthony, as an offensive player, is unstoppable, period. 27.4 points, 45% shooting, 40% from three-point range. There is no place on the floor that this brother can't score. And what are you saying? The triangle offense, going to have to move the ball. Well, excuse me, that's why you got Jose Calderon, lethal three-point shooter. This dude, Tim Hardaway Jr., keep your eyes on this brother. He's gotten even better. I watched him in the Summer League, Skip Bayless. Tim Hardaway Jr. can play some basketball. Don't ask him to play the point. Don't ask him to dribble, set up plays, run an offense. That ain't his game. But if you're talking about somebody that can put it up, he can put it up. If you're Carmelo Anthony, you want to give the ball to dudes who can close. You don't want to give it to a Raymond Felton, who you got to pray that he makes shot. Iman Shumpert, love his game, love his athleticism, loves his defensive tenacity. Love that about him. But he's not a great shooter. J.R. Smith, sporadic, even though he can light it up from time to time. But you're going to have people around Melo who can shoot the basketball. So when he gives it up, he'll give it up. But the point is, because you're not going to be able to key on him as much as you customarily did because of the movement of the basketball and him being surrounded with other shooters, that's going to open things up even more for this offensive juggernaut. Last statement. Carmelo Anthony is one of the top 5 offensive players of the modern day era. This dude is unstoppable. And Phil Jackson's triangle system is only going to help that. Kobe was smaller. Melo's bigger, and he can post you. Remember I said that.
I'm glad you're sitting down.
It's coming.
I'm glad you're sitting down. You almost fainted.
Not one word you uttered shocked me at all. I always say on this show, Carmelo is a top 5 offensive player in this league. The question here becomes, and we do know that the Zen Master loves to drop little bombshells in every interview he gives, just so that he can sit back and chuckle as we all run hysterically and overreact on Twitter about, oh, my God, did you see what Phil just said about Carmelo? Here's the question I have for Carmelo, and I know he's looking forward right now to the triangle. But Phil did say we can't have anyone, I'm paraphrasing slightly, we can't have anyone taking 25 shots a game. Carmelo, as we all know, has been spoiled in the Big Apple. In the Mecca of basketball, it's been Carmelo's team and only Carmelo's team. So every night he takes the stage at Madison Square Garden, right. It's like, I'm going to shoot it 30 times because that's who I am, that's what I do. And there's a spoil factor there where you get used to doing that. Now, Phil also said, Carmelo said through their negotiations, I want help. I need more help. The triangle will be good for Carmelo, but I think it's going to be a culture shock for him, a shock to the early system, early in the year, because you can't take 25, 28, 30 shots a night, even though I will point out to you that when Phil was coaching Kobe's Lakers, 4 times Kobe led the NBA in shots attempted.
Thank you.
4 times. So
he's going to do what he wants to do.
Okay, but that's Kobe.
Thank you.
Okay, to me, do I think Carmelo can be ever a better basketball player than Kobe Bryant? I don't. As much as I think he's a top 5 offensive player,
no.
Kobe has more to his game. He can distribute better than Carmelo, even though Carmelo is capable. I just don't know if he's ever going to have the desire to distribute that Kobe also brings with the shots taken.
Let me say this. Let me be very clear, Skip Bayless, because I already got some players, and I won't mention their name, but they're texting me right now saying I'm crazy. How could I say that about Melo compared to Kobe? And a couple of them are future Hall of Famers. I'll talk to them later. I'll call them later. Okay. But here's the deal. I will tell you this. What everybody's missing about that triangle is that there are plenty of times that the triangle has broke down. There are plenty of times that coaches have figured out the triangle. The problem is when all else failed, Kobe said, bump that. I got this. And he did his thing and came to the rescue, making it look like the triangle was more effective than it had actually been. Who's capable of doing that? Melo is too. Melo is the type of dude, yeah, I'll distribute the basketball. Yeah, I'll take my 20 shots a game instead of 25 or 30. But when it breaks down and you got other cats that can't do it, here is where I am.
Okay.
Give me the rock and I'll take you to the promised land. And that's what happens. It's not just about moving the basketball. It's about understanding that when it broke down, what you're going to do. I remember Ernie Grunfeld, the former executive for the New York Knicks, who's now in Washington, sat there years ago when the Chicago Bulls were beating on the Knicks. He said there's been plenty of times, whether it was Pat Riley or Jeff Van Gundy, where, okay, we figured it out. Yeah. The problem is we couldn't stop Jordan. Jordan will make any offense look great. Kobe will make any offense look great. And Melo has the potential to do just that as well. Look out. As long as you got shooters, people who can put the ball in the hole around Carmelo Anthony, and you don't get to key on him, it's a lights-out scenario, y'all. Melo, offensively, ain't the complete player that Kobe is. We know that. But when it comes to putting that ball in the hole, there is only one person I put on the level of Carmelo Anthony, and his name is Kevin Durant. That's about it.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
So bigger picture, are you suggesting that the Knicks are now a threat to the Cleveland Cavaliers this year?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I mean, who
after all that, Hardaway this,
and
Calderon this, and Hardaway
this. Wait a minute. Skip. Wait a minute. The Cleveland Cavaliers and a healthy Derrick Rose with the Chicago Bulls are the top two teams in the Eastern Conference. Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra and Mickey Arison have made me promise not to disavow the Miami Heat.
Well, you better not.
They are hell-bent on making sure we understand. They're not going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere.
But I look at Cleveland and Chicago and then everybody else.
Okay, so listen, Stephen A., in the same article, and I'm gonna toss this up to Skip, in that same article.
In the East.
Yeah, Phil Jackson said that nobody could actually ever be Michael Jordan, but he said Kobe trained harder than Michael Jordan. Your take on that?
That's very difficult to say because most of the things that Michael Jordan did, most folks didn't know about. Michael Jordan wasn't the kind of person, for what I was told, that really did a lot of stuff in front of his teammates and in front of his coaches. He came there and did his job. But his off-season workout regimen, etc., the great Tim Grover and others could tell you about that. Michael Jordan just kept to himself in terms of the lethalness of what he brought to the table. You found out about that when he showed up on the court. Kobe just lives, eats, and breathes basketball. I remember I was told the story, y'all, when Kobe Bryant showed up for, I don't know if it was with Nike or somebody else, to literally negotiate a deal. And he showed up in his sweatsuit and some sneakers. And he said, would you mind, I think it was Nike in Oregon. And he said, would you mind if I used your gym? And that fall away that we see Kobe utilizing all the time, particularly on the baseline, that was mastered by Michael Jordan. Kobe Bryant showed up to a negotiation with his warm-up suit, his sneakers, and a basketball, and proceeded to go out on the court after they finished talking business, and for 3 to 4 hours did nothing but work on that particular shot from the baseline for 3 or 4 hours. So Kobe's special. When you say that, well, Michael Jordan didn't work as hard as Kobe Bryant, well, maybe that's because Phil coached both of them. When in fact what Phil should have said is, I've never seen anybody that works harder than Kobe Bryant.
No, that's what he said.
Kobe Bryant is in L.A. right now.
No, that's what he said. He said his attitude was better. His attitude was better in training towards than Michael Jordan's. He was just like, Mike would disagree, but in terms of training, he said Kobe's attitude was better than Michael's.
I'm just saying everybody. I'm saying Kobe may be better than everybody because this dude is fixated. He in California right now, man. He got guys waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning working out. This is what Kobe's been doing all off season. It's all I've been hearing. Kobe's been working out all season. He got guys up 7 in the morning working out.
Okay. This would be a great question for Tim Grover. But when I was in Chicago, Michael had, during the season, even during the playoff run, what they called the Breakfast Club, which was very early morning that he and Pippen and Ron Harper would meet to lift weights and train hard outside of the confines of basketball. But to me, I believe that Kobe has trained harder than Michael. In no way, shape, or form do I ever think that Kobe Bryant has ever been better than Michael Jordan. But remember, when the season is over, Michael loved his golf. And it is a very consuming, addictive pastime to follow. And Michael loved to smoke his cigars. Kobe doesn't love golf, to my knowledge. I don't think he even plays. I've never heard of him playing golf.
Plays a little softball.
Maybe okay, well, that might take one night of summer, right?
That's it.
Okay, that's about it. So I believe that Kobe has trained harder than Michael trained under Phil Jackson, but he's not better.
Wilson set, ground ball, right side. Barney diving stop, throws him out, and the Dodgers have won the National League Western Division title. Let the bubble machine begin.
It's always fun to clinch your division, get to do it at home. It's a good feeling. Right now we got playoffs to think about.
They have playoffs to think about. Last night, Clayton Kershaw led the Dodgers to clinch the NL West title after a 9-1 victory over the second-place Giants. Kershaw had a career high with his 21st victory and is favored for both MVP and the NL Cy Young Award. That's very impressive for one young Clayton Kershaw, who was on our show, and I thought he was a great kid. Here's the question. I'll give it to you, and you have to be very objective.
Oh, I do?
Yeah,
if I'm not usually?
No. You speak with your heart sometimes. Okay, so here's the question. How great do you believe Kershaw can be?
Stephen A., Clayton Kershaw, to me, by my standards, which are mostly postseason standards, has a long, long way to go to greatness. I will give him this. He just had an all-time great regular season. He should be the National League MVP. But I look already at his postseason, and he started 6 games, and he's 1-2 with a 4.23 ERA. Not very good. I look at current left-handers. John Lester is 6-4 in the postseason, but he's got a 2.11 ERA, and he's got 2 rings. I look at Cliff Lee. Remember, he started out in the postseason winning his first 7 games with a 1.26 ERA. Well, that's way beyond what Clayton Kershaw has done. And then we always hear Clayton Kershaw compared to the greatest Dodger pitcher ever, maybe the greatest pitcher ever, period, Sandy Koufax, who had an 0.95 postseason ERA and threw a shutout, a 9-inning shutout in a Game 7 on the road at Minnesota in the World Series. Well, where do I go with this? 1-2 in the postseason for Clayton Kershaw, and that, by the way, included, remember that Game 6 at St. Louis last year when he got absolutely rocked on the road, lasted 4 innings and gave up 10 hits, 7 earned runs? I mean, that's not all-time great. All-time great regular season. He was the reason the Dodgers are the Dodgers right now, but man, he's got so much more to prove when it really counts.
Skip Bayless, he might go down when all is said and done as the greatest lefty in the history of the game. You know, that kind of jerky delivery throws you off a little bit. He's been incredibly effective, got a 177 ERA in this day and age with steroid use and all of that other stuff that was going on in recent memory and what he's endured. I'm just looking at his career record right now. Listen, 98-49. a 2.48 career ERA. I'm looking right now. The one thing that does worry me about him, he pitched 198 innings this year. Last year it was 236. The year before that was 227. Year before that was 233. I'm wondering if he's going to blow his arm out. I'm concerned about that. It remains to be seen. But I think what you're seeing from him in the regular season, he's clearly lethal. But the problem is, you're right, Skip, his postseason record, that does matter because he wasn't 1-2. He was 1-3. Remember, he didn't lose one game to St. Louis last year. He lost 2 games. He lost 2 games, and his ERA was over 6. So I'm looking at Clayton Kershaw right now, and I want to see what I need to see from him in the postseason because you're right about Cliff Lee and what he did, Sandy Koufax, what he did. I'll even go back to the days of the Yankees with Ron Guidry and those boys, whether it be a Clemens or somebody. You know that they showed up when they were called upon to show up. I need to see that from Clayton Kershaw. But the season was all-time great, one of the all-time greats as far as I'm concerned. I not only think he needs to be the league MVP, but definitely, obviously, the Cy Young Award winner as well. This dude is big time in the regular season. But we say the same thing about Peyton Manning. Come playoff time, we still need to see what we need to see from Clayton Kershaw. But it's a big-time 1-2 punch with him and Greinke, though.
Well, it is. And I agree with you about the herky-jerky delivery. And I'm not sure I've seen a more lethal curveball than this young man has. And he's a good kid. He's not a kid anymore to me. He's a young man. But we had him on. Everybody loves him. He's quality. He's class. He's dignity. He's all the good things. He's all the right things. Except when it's been money time, he has not been money yet. Now, maybe that's about the team around him, the problems of the team around him. Maybe that will clarify itself in this postseason. They are the team to beat, I think, right now. I think we would agree with that.
Skip, they are, but I'm not sleeping on the Angels, and I'd love to see them against the Angels in the World Series. ERA under 2 last 2 seasons, Skip. He seems to be getting better, which is what's scary about him.
Stephen A. Smith,
I agree.
You got the Washington Redskins winning tonight. Score again?
Yes, I do. I got them winning 31-23.
I got the Giants winning. Your Giants that you have sold out already. I've got them winning 27-23. And by the way, Matt Schaub made 2 Pro Bowls.
Come on, man.
2 Pro Bowls.
You got to be kidding me.
Lit it up.
So
and he
what?
won a playoff game.
Listen.
Listen.
Come on.
He can't even win a starting job now. You and Matt Schaub.
Okay,
Stop
listen.
it.
Tomorrow we will react to the Washington Redskins and New York Giants game. We will also preview Week 4.
And we'll talk about Kirk Cousins.
We will talk about who's great, Kirk Cousins
Washington.
or RG3. We'll also talk about why all of a sudden the roles have been reversed. Why you're defending his teams and he's defending your teams. I don't get it. Anyway,
I don't either.
For Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith, I'm Carrie Champion. We hope you've enjoyed our wonderful 2 hours of television. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for listening to the podcast. You can catch First Take Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific.